Good morning, friends. I'm Kumar. Today I'll discuss ABAP development for SAP HANA. So, after completion of ABAP, it's a new topic, advanced topic, SAP HANA for ABAP. I'm going to discuss today. In today's section, I'll discuss about architecture of SAP R3 with all the work process, architecture of HANA DB in memory, evolution of SAP release, and I'll talk about SAP ABAP when it was introduced by the SAP. What was the need of SAP BW when it came into picture? What was the need of SAP HANA? Row store and column store architecture in memory. I'll discuss about architecture of row store and column store. In my subsequent session, I'll discuss practical session over row store and column store. And finally, code push down architecture. In my next session, I'll show you how to achieve code push down. So let's start ABAP development for SAP HANA. If you have any questions, any queries, it will be answered at the end of this session. So I request all of you to please listen carefully all these topics and then raise your questions. In between, if you ask questions, it will not be able to I will not be able to cover all the topics which I have decided to cover today. So at the end, definitely I'll answer your all questions. So best of luck. Let's start ABAP development for HANA. Before sharing my knowledge over SAP HANA ABAP, I'm sure after going through with this all slides of over SAP HANA, you will understand the architecture of HANA, its evolution, including all the release by SAP till today. You will also understand what was the use of BW and what was reason for HANA development. I'll discuss about in-memory technology. It will help you to become a confident user of SAP HANA development environment. And my subsequent post will show you how to access SAP HANA objects within the ABAP program and also ABAP development through ABAP development tool, which is ADT. SAP HANA is very powerful and interesting to learn. So I'll discuss from the scratch. I know all of you are ABAPer and you understand this. Some of you understand the HANA. You have joined this session because you want to gain more knowledge on SAP HANA. So there will be various, I would say, thoughts in your mind. And when you are not aware of any technology, there are a lot of questions comes in our mind. So being a developer, you're definitely thinking of what kind of changes, what kind of changes you need to do in your program, which kind of changes you need to adopt in your program, and how you need to think differently in order to optimize or rebuild your existing application or new application for use with SAP HANA. Definitely, there are some guidelines for SAP HANA before using your existing application, and there are some rules for good practice to use SAP HANA for ABAP. So this session is very helpful for definitely ABAPers, because to learn about SAP HANA, you need to have basic knowledge of SAP ABAP first. Then you will be able to understand very easily SAP HANA for ABAP. But don't get demoralized if you are not an ABAPer. ABAP is very simple language, very close to English language, or any language can be learned, but you need to have proper dedication, time. Then definitely after hard work, you will become a ABAPer, and this session will be helpful for you after that. If you are willing to learn SAP ABAP, if you are willing to become an ABAPer, you can drop me a mail. My mail ID is given top of the slide, and you can access me, you can connect with me anytime whenever you feel need of um, SAP ABAP. Now, without wasting more time on topic which has no use in our learning process, I'm very much excited, my dears, to share my knowledge and learning with all of you. So welcome my ABAP friends. Let's start SAP HANA. So can anybody answer like what was first question came in your mind when you heard about SAP HANA? Yes, exactly. Full form. And what you did after knowing the full form? Use. Yes, exactly. So just same question was in my mind as well. So when I started learning SAP HANA, so I myself did some Google, and as you did, what is SAP HANA? What is full form of SAP HANA? And you Googled it. And believe me, what happens sometimes, we do Googles, we try to understand things, we try to learn ourselves, but there are some limitations which stops us to learn. And in HANA, I have seen with many ABAPers, they stop their learning process, learning objective after reading some blogs and post over internet, and finally come to conclusion that okay, I need server access first, system which is available with us, which is might be SAP ECC, might be SAP 4.7 if you are working with older version. So definitely you are not able to practice. Even in SAP ECC you are not able to practice. So you stop your learning process, you stop your learning objective. But believe me, my friends, this is not the right way. If you want to learn, you need to work hard, you need to find out the workaround, you need to fight for access. It might be inside your organization, you might get opportunity to access. Some multinational organizations gives opportunity to their employees to uh, improve, enhance their knowledge. So you need to your team, you need to access your team, you need to get access, and you need to practice. But for them who has no access, whose organization is not giving opportunity to improve themselves, to enhance themselves, nothing to worry. This time, I will not allow you to stop your learning objective only because of HANA access. We should be very thankful to SAP because SAP provides complete access to SAP HANA database, SAP HANA server, where you can do your practice, where you can do your research, you can develop your program, you can do anything, whatever you want. So in my subsequent session, I'll let you know the process, how to access those server and how you get access from SAP. So don't put yourself in a situation where you started thinking that, okay, this time I'm not able to do the practice because of server access, and you stop learning and started thinking like, okay, I'll get opportunity in my project, in my organization, then I'll learn as a SAP HANA. Believe me, this is not correct because you get your project, you work, your job anywhere in this world only because of your knowledge, your skills, and your experience. Be confident and keep learning always. So, this is my request to all of you. So, let's move to next topic. So, our objective of learning based on three questions, and these three questions will cover up complete SAP HANA for ABAP. So, these three questions, as you can see over screen, like these are: what does SAP HANA mean for standard application that runs on ABAP application server? As you know, HANA for ABAP, HANA is uh, for ABAP servers, which runs on ABAP servers. So what changes are occurring in ABAP programming? Definitely, this is the major area which I'll discuss in more and more detail, because lot of changes has been done in SQL side by the SAP. We can execute our SQL code, existing SQL code, as well as new technique, new SQL commands. So third question is, what new options does SAP HANA opens up in terms of ABAP based solution? Yes, there are new options available with SAP HANA like OData services, UI services, connectivity with UI. So I'll show you all the process one by one. It's not possible to discuss each and everything in a one session. Definitely, it will be multiple sessions. There will be multiple questions in your mind, various questions in your mind, and I'll answer all those questions after this session. But initially, when you started thinking about SAP HANA, initially, which I discussed in my first slide, so you did Google what is full form of SAP HANA, and definitely I understand that you all are aware of full form of SAP HANA. Yes, you are correct. SAP HANA is high performance analytical appliances. What is analytical? What is appliances? We will understand that in my session. So I think first question has been answered by yourself, and you have googled it in your past. So now second questions, like after knowing the full form of SAP HANA, we try to understand, and you also tried yourself to understand, what is use of SAP HANA, what is that SAP HANA. Some of them some of them are able to understand after reading multiple blogs. Some of them are not able to understand what exactly is SAP HANA. So SAP HANA By the SAP, I would say SAP describes HANA as a platform for real-time data management. SAP HANA is a high-end database. What is it? It's a high-end database for business transactions. So we have two types of business transactions, like online transaction processing. So online transaction, what business does every day, and another is online analytical processing, OLAP process. So being a developer, all of you are aware, OLTP and OLAP process. So OLAP process is our BW system, which is used for reporting, which is used for analysis, which is used for taking decisions. So we have, so as you know about BW, so it can be used combination of in-memory technology and column-oriented storage to optimize the both scenario. Both scenario means OLAP and OLTP. Currently, it's not possible to use column-oriented storage, um, column-oriented storage mechanism with our database. This is the database which SAP has developed, in which you can store your data in a column oriented form. So what is that column oriented form? We will learn in our subsequent session, in a subsequent discussion. So SAP HANA is a combination of hardware and a software. Only software is not possible to achieve all the performance of SAP HANA, complete performance of SAP HANA, and only the hardware is not possible. If any organization implements only hardware, they cannot achieve the complete performance of SAP HANA. Or if any organization implement only software, like they implement only database, then again they are not able to utilize the complete power of SAP HANA. So SAP HANA is a combination of hardware and software. This appliances run independently of the data source and can be used to analyze large data volume in real time within the main memory. Means uh, currently our database is saved somewhere in a hard drive. So whatever data we retrieve from database, it comes into RAM, then it gets processed and results are gets appeared over a screen. But HANA database is completely based on main memory, that is in memory technology. And because of that, retrieve uh, data replication is very fast, and we can read real time data. We can retrieve, we can access real time data whenever we have a need of those records, those informations. So real time SAP's, do you know real time saves the evolution of 40 years of SAP software. Even the letter R in SAP classic product in R3 stood for real time, for R3 only, not for R1, not for R2. Real time stood for R in SAP R3 only. SAP HANA appliances hardware, you can say, is provided by the leading hardware partners. So what are those hardware partners which can be seen in a product availability matrix? So I have provided a site address, which is service.sap.com/PAM product availability matrix. And I'm not going to discuss about hardware components. You can go through if you are willing to learn about what are the hardwares required for HANA, and you can read the documentation provided by the SAP. But definitely I'll discuss about the software components of HANA, and I'll discuss about in-memory technology architecture for sure. Now let's move to next topic, and I think you have little bit idea of what is SAP HANA. Now let's talk about little bit about SAP release. So let's move to past. Let's move to 1972. Initially, SAP developed application, and you can say first application developed by SAP, payroll accounting and financial accounting, and which was mapped electronically, and it was automated first time. And that release was known as R1, SAP R1. So I have provided the definition of R1, facilitated the on-screen entry of business data, which compared to older punch card system provided a new quality of real time. So initially punch card, I have never gone through with punch card. I have never seen what was that punch card system. I'm just like you. I have read a lot of things about punch card. So I've never gone through, I've never done that in my career. So in 80 to 90, SAP R2 was released, in which SAP introduced new added further ERP modules like, for example, SAP Material Management. And as a part of this release, SAP introduced a reporting language, which is ABAP. So ABAP was introduced in R2 release, SAP R2. Originally, full form of ABAP was something like something like this in German language, which means General Report Creation Processor. And later it was changed to Advanced Business Application Programming. R2 SAP R2 release was based on mainframe architecture, and after that, in 1991 to 2000, there was a advent of client server architecture. With the advent of distributed client server architecture computing, SAP brought out a client server version of a software. Client server version of a software was called R3, and R was a real-time data processing, and 3 was the three-tier application which I know, and those three-tier was database, application server, and client, which is presentation server. This new architecture was compatible with all the platform like Unix, Windows. So I think this is enough for R3. Now I have also provided you complete list of all released till today in my next slide. If you are willing to know, and being a professional, you should know, at least you should have some idea, basic knowledge of all the release, what are the versions was in past, and how we are today. So that will help you to become a, it will increase your confidence. That's it. And now let's discuss about ECC. So newer version of software with revised technical architecture was released in 2004, and R3 was renamed as a SAP ERP central component, which I know we know it as a SAP ECC. SAP ECC is the core component within the SAP Business Suite. What is Business Suite? Business Suite is a collection of application including CRM, SCM, and others alongside the ECC component. SAP ECC contains different but integrated functionality within its modules, that is finance modules, HR modules, warehouse management, etc., all within the ECC. After successful completion of development release of ECC, there was a situation in the market all over the world. There was a lot of complications. There was a lot of complications in a business. So in one hand, complicated business scenarios, and other side, technology was changing, like in cloud technology was into picture. So the combined complexity of business suite along with newer in cloud competitors, SAP in last 20 years invested lot of money heavily in simplification and massively to improve system response time. So, and finally, SAP achieved this through SAP HANA. So, in February 2015, SAP announced S S4 Simple Suite. In February 2015, S4 has a single tenant architecture and being built upon SAP's in-memory database technology stack. And it is available in a two choice. First in cloud and second is on-premises deployment. In cloud and premises means like if you want to purchase your hardware, your software, you can purchase it, you can implement inside your building in your premises. If you want to use in cloud technology, then you no need to purchase anything. You need to just pay the rent of cloud and you can access SAP mm, HANA over cloud. So these are two you can say options available to use SAP HANA. So the classic three-tier application, the classic three-tier and database architecture of R3 replaced with two-tier architecture. So we will see how these are the SAP release till today. So I've mentioned not necessary, but being SAP professional, we should know about SAP release. So I have highlighted in white color, in white box. So SAP, most of the organizations using this ECC version, and by 2025, SAP will stop uh, supporting SAP ECC. So worldwide, each and every organization will have to move into SAP HANA. That is for sure. So our focus of learning will be SAP HANA. You have seen, you might have noticed this 1610, 1709, 1809, 1909. Do you know what is that? This is the year and the month when it was released. So 1610 means SAP HANA S4 was released in October 2016. So I hope it is helpful for you. Now I'm going to discuss architecture at a very high level. I know all of you are ABAPer, and being ABAPer, you are aware of all these three layers because this is the architecture which we all know being ABAPer. But I would like to discuss about architecture over here because once I'll show you the old architecture, which is traditional architecture of SAP R3. Then only you will be able to understand the difference of new HANA architecture. So till the time we have seen what are the evolution of SAP release, what is the full form of SAP HANA and its definition. But are we really understood SAP HANA for ABAP? No, dear. Real challenges are start from here. If you want to become good developer or architect in your organization, understanding of HANA architecture is very much important. It will improve your confidence. It will improve your image in your organization because you know the architecture, you understand each and every aspects of architecture. So as we know, there are three layers in SAP R3 architecture, that is presentation layer, application layer, and database layer. So presentation layer where our GUI is installed. So we sends our request user, or we, you can say, sends our request through GUI client. It goes to application server, and application server moves to database layer and sends the data request to database. Once database receive the data request from the application server, requested data moves, DB sends the data requested by the application server, and application server sends data requested by the presentation server or the client after processing. So this is the basic architecture of SAP R3. So I'll discuss in little bit detail in our next slide. So this is again the little detail of SAP architecture. I'm not going to discuss about ICM here because ICM itself is a big structure, big architecture of SAP R3. So I'm just going to discuss about SAP R3 high level architecture. So as we know, we have a presentation layer, application layer, and database layer. So at the database layer, we can have any database which is available in the market like Oracle, Sybase, SQL, etc. So presentation layer, we have a GUI client, graphical user interface client, which is installed in our laptop, and through which we access our SAP system, and through which we can access any application server, SAP application server in this world if we have a um, like all the details available with us. Now our presentation server are connected to application layer through dispatcher. Once we send any request through our GUI client by user interface, it moves to dispatcher, and dispatcher decides what kind of request they have received from the client, and accordingly he dispatcher distribute task to the dialog process, to the work process, I would say work process. So we have different work process like dialog work process, background work process, update work process, spool work process, in-queue work process. These are the SAP ABAP work processes which is used to deliver all the request, all the service to the client. Somewhere we have a calculation logic in application server. We have a database interface which is connected to our database, and dispatcher is also connected to gateway. So being a developer, you should know what is gateway. Gateway is used to connect mm, SAP system, non-SAP system outside the world. Like if I'm a I'm in or my organization wants to connect with your organization might be using SAP, might not be using SAP, but we want to do business and we want to get connected with you. So what I'll do, I'll create a RFC connection and through gateway I will connect with you. If you are accessing your application server through internet, through web browser, so ICM comes into picture, and ICM are connected to again dispatcher, and based on your request raised in web browser over through internet, dispatcher again receives the request, and according to the request it uh, divides it, um, delegate task to the work process, delegate task to the work process. So this is the traditional architecture which uses data to code paradigm. So I'll discuss data to code paradigm in my slides, further slides. So this is just to give you idea. This architecture is data to code paradigm. I will show you what is data to code paradigm and what is code to data paradigm in my subsequent slide. So next, let's see all the work process one by one. Dialog work process, dialog process like online transactions, what business executes every day. So each dialog process is allotted with a specific time. So like sometimes you are executing your program or any transaction you are executing over application server. After sometimes you might have come across a situation when your system goes for dump, timeout dump. So there are specific time given to mm, every process, every dialog process, and sometimes we request our basis team please increase time, dialog time, because of high volume of data it will take blah blah time. So time provided by you is not enough to process all the data, and because of that system is getting dumb. So what basis team does, it moves to RSZ transaction, and um, inside the profile parameter he does the changes according to the request if possible. So you can see that we can request the processing time of a dialog work process with the help of profile parameter. So each work process required 50 to 60 MB of memory. Again, a situation, I would say you have come across in your SAP career, like sometimes you have a data in your internal table, and you might be first timeout dump, which I discussed earlier, and second kind of dump we come across sometimes because of high volume of data. So memory out of memory dumps comes into our system. So this is because we every dialog process required 50 to 60 MB memory. If our system, if our internal table having more than 50 60 MB of data, it will go for memory out dump. So I think you should be able to understand what is the dialog process. Now second is background work process. We submit our application, our program, our custom Z development into background because of high volume of data, or for a periodic job which has to be executed every day by particular time according to the business requirement. So we submit our applications, our program in a background. So In that situation, dispatcher receives a request from the client that okay, this program has to submit it in a background. So this is a background kind of job, request. So it dispatcher again approach background work process and submit it to background work process, like if I said in a layman language that okay, background, I have received this request from client and it has to be executed in a background, so please take care of this application. And background process work process is responsible for executing those programs in a background. So background process internally uses one or more dialog process to completing request raised by the client. And client in our discussion is our GUI client, our request raised by the users. So we know that we have a three kind of background work process according to priority. So high priority, low priority, and medium. So we have a three kind of priorities, and through SM35, 36. So background jobs we monitor, we check what has been finished or not, what are the issues, what are the steps has been mm, cleared and has been executed. So we have come across this background work process in our SAP life. So we can define any number of background work process jobs. So all jobs will be executed one by one with the background work process. So there you can see, you have seen that there is no limitations like how many jobs you can execute in a background. You can submit a number of jobs in a background. So there is no issues with that. Now update work process. Update work process is nothing. It's a uh, save data in a database. So we have a two types of work process: update work process, which is UPD, and UPD2, which is also known as V1 update and V2 update. V1 is asynchronous and V2 is a synchronous work process. So another is the in-queue work process. Again, this is a practical situation where ABAPer always play with that. So, in order to stop other users to other developer or users to modify data once you and other users are modifying same data in a same table. So in that situation, we place a lock. Sometimes we create a lock in SE11 transaction. And if our program is modifying or changing any data in a database table, so we create locks and we use it in our programming using in queue and your lock object name, in queue underscore your lock object name, and then mm, processing logic for the database table and the DQ underscore your lock objects name. So we also aware of that there are two type of locks, like shared locks and exclusive locks. Shared locks where if you are updating your tables, if one user is updating or modifying any table, other user can see data, but he is not allowed to do any kind of changes at that time. Second is when any user is modifying or updating any tables, then users are not even allowed to see that data. So at this time, and if another user is updating, so all the information will be written to the log table that has a say that was created in a central instance and shared memory, or at the time of you can say instance, at the time of when instant starts. The size of this table is 4 MB by default, and the maximum size you can define is 100 MB. Now we have another work process is spool work process. It is meant for print related, and you have again gone through transaction SP01, which is a spool. So print related activities are taken care by the spool work process. I've also provided the definition of SAP dispatcher. As I discussed, it is necessary to process SAP requests from end user. So who is end user? End user might be you, might be users, which actual users who is using business transactions, who are executing business transactions. So he can, like for example, he can execute VS01, he can submit any task in a background, so he can fire a print request, or he can try to save data or update data through transaction. For example, creating material, creating sales order, creating deliveries. So according to their transactions, SAP dispatcher decides which work process uh, is responsible for taking care of this kind of request raised by the user. So it is necessary to process SAP request from end user via SAP front end. SAP application server has a dispatcher process which gathers and collect the request from end user. So how SAP application server um, collects information from users? Through dispatcher, and next it will forward them to work process for execution. SAP dispatcher separately executes individual work process function in SAP applications such as dialog, update, background process, and spool work process. So as I said earlier, so we interact with application server, we raised our request for application server, and dispatcher is responsible for understanding our request and processing it. But dispatcher delegates this task to the work process. Now move to next slide. So let's understand the power of real-time data. You have seen the evolution of SAP from 1970 to till date, that is R1, R2, R3, ECC, and now HANA. You have also seen the architecture of SAP R3 and different work process and the job, how they are connected to SAP dispatcher through client over application server, SAP application server. To understand the change in architecture, not change, you can say like improvements done in HANA, you need to know the original architecture first, which I discussed. Previous architecture is very important to understand the difference. So that's why I discussed little bit about old architecture, R3 architecture, or you can say traditional architecture of SAP. Now, this is not the only architecture change which I will discuss in our subsequent session or subsequent topic or slide. There are lot of changes, lot of improvements done in SAP HANA, which is not possible for me to discuss each and every aspects of changes, but definitely I'll discuss those changes which is helpful for an ABAPer. I will discuss which I understand that this is important for you as an ABAPer. Now, let's see, understand why and how SAP HANA came into picture. Let me help you again to understand in a different words with a different examples why SAP HANA came into picture. As we know, today's business world is extremely dynamic and subject to change, constant change, with companies continuously under great pressure to innovate. Everywhere होड़ लगी हुई है innovation, innovation, innovate, कुछ innovative करो. So HANA's vision is to provide a platform that can be used to influence all business process within company's value chain in real time. If you are really willing to understand the power of real-time data, which is a backbone of SAP HANA, just think about early form of communication. Initially, we used to have telegraph, and at that time, telegraph was although the very limited in terms of their uses like range availability and manual effort, but at that time it was immense improvement in terms of speed at which messages were previously exchanged like postal mails. And we know this kind of communication are known as asynchronous communications. Then invention of telephone, it becomes possible to establish flexible connections over the long distances. Again, real-time data was possible at that time again, but there was delay. What was delay at that time? So the user of this new technology, there was like it was necessary to establish physical connections. Although today telephone connections can be established without any notable delay, and telephone connections are known as like asynchronous communications. So today again I would repeat that it's not necessary to establish physical connection like mobile. So we can get connected anywhere in this world anytime. Again, I would like to highlight a few things for asynchronous communications. So asynchronous communications have always played a very good role in our history, like postal communications. Asynchronous communication has also undergone immense change in last few years. For example, like emails, SMS, and so on. Initially, pager was also there. So, which is unlike postal mails, facilitates a new dimension of real-time communication between several people. Parallel to these developments, in fact, that over the past 20 years, it has become increasingly more important to analyze current business process. Although world is changing every day new business processes are coming, and being a like you will have to analyze your business each and every day, the purpose of which is to continuously obtain information in order to make better operational and strategic decisions. So you need real time data to decide good for your organization. If you will not have the real time data, you won't be able to decide any good things for your organization, for your business. If you don't have real time data, you can't create any strategy for your business. So parallel processing of analysis was not possible at that time, like parallel processing of analysis and business transaction at the same time, involving extremely large amount of data overloaded into system with the database emerging as a limiting factor. There was a limit, there was a limitations. It was not possible to analyze business data and do the transactions, because for analysis purpose we need to have old data or old records to analyze the business, what kind of sales was there, what kind of material was there, what was the demand, what kind of customers. So lot of scenarios comes to analyze our business process, and it was not possible at that time, because of high volume of data. This was the reason SAP created specialized system for analysis for analytical scenario, which is currently known as SAP BW, which is used, we know that, which is used for reporting purpose for, and that report can be for analysis and can be useful for taking strategic decisions for the organizations. So BW came into picture. So I think you have understood why SAP BW was there, why SAP developed SAP BW, because analysis was not possible at the same time with the same server, because of high volume of data. But when BW was there, so it was very powerful tool developed by SAP. But again, consolidating data from multiple systems, as we know that BW receives data from SAP ECC, and not only from ECC, it might be connected with the other system, other SAP system within the same organization. So we might have the different application servers in a different locations, and different non-SAP systems might be available there. So they are connected at the top of mm, BW system, where BW receives data from the different application servers and data, different like non-SAP systems as well, and integrate that external data source. The use of the data warehouse system for operational scenario is unfortunately with the loss of data when processed in a real time. Again, uh, there was issue because replicating data from different system mm, was taking long time. So data needs to be extracted and replicated, which is in practice can cause a time delay, so ranging from several hours to 1 week until the current data is available in the at the current location. So again, real-time data was not possible with SAP BW, we know that. So it takes a lot of time to replicate data in BW. So this was the SAP's starting point for SAP HANA. So SAP decided that no more delays in receiving key information for a business. So key information can be possible only when we have a real-time data. Then only we can take the decisions at the right time. So if you want to understand the SAP's definition of SAP HANA, just go back and read the mm, my previous slide, and how SAP defines SAP HANA. So in first step, what SAP did, SAP uh, used HANA as a side-by-side scenario. So what is side-by-side scenario? So just let me move to next slide. You can see that database here. This is I have mentioned as a secondary database. Now go back to previous slide. So in first step, SAP HANA was used as a side-by-side scenario. That is, in addition to existing traditional database. So you have seen that in picture, like we have a primary database and we have a secondary database as a HANA to accelerate selective process and analysis. For SAP HANA decided that, okay, what I'll do, I'll place a secondary database, which is our new HANA database, and will do the selective process or analysis kind of activities in secondary database. But soon after, it was supported as a new database for SAP HANA NetWeaver 7.3 BW 7.3. In this way, SAP demonstrated that SAP HANA not only accelerate analytical scenario, but can also be used as a primary database for the SAP NetWeaver system. Mind it, guys, NetWeaver system. System means all the SAP product, SAP CRM, SRM, ECC. ERP, everything. Now, today, your database you can completely migrate to SAP HANA, or you can only migrate your database to SAP HANA. This is also possible. It is now possible for a customer to fully benefit from SAP HANA technology within standard application. So what I was discussing is this is our primary database and this is side by side scenario which SAP introduced, but they realized that no, we can remove this database and we can use this database HANA DB as a primary DB. So I have discussed this architecture. My objective was to discuss side by side scenario here with this picture. So I think you have understood that what is side by side scenario. But now SAP can directly use this HANA DB as a primary database. So two scenario with SAP applications. As I said, either you can move complete your applications to SAP HANA, or another which I shared just right away, that is side by side scenario. So another one is known as integrated scenario. In this, existing applications are migrated to SAP HANA and the traditional database is replaced with SAP HANA and becomes a primary database. There is no more use of like Oracle, Sybase kind of database. Now SAP HANA database can be used directly for the application server, for the SAP applications. So I have just created one diagram for all of you. So initial side by scenario is like SAP Business Suite where existing database was there and there was SAP HANA database as well, which was known as the side by side scenario. But SAP realized that this existing DB or primary DB can be removed completely, and they did it in SAP HANA and complete SAP HANA Business Suite, ERP, CRM, SCM, PLM, VDM, SRM can directly run on SAP HANA. SAP NetWeaver directly run on SAP HANA. New applications can run on SAP HANA. This is known as integrated scenario. So hope you will be able to understand if I read out the side by side scenario. So SAP HANA is implemented in addition to an existing primary database. Certain applications read data needed from SAP HANA instead of primary database. It means if something needed here, so the something can be read from here as well. So and that was for analysis kind of scenario. So in this case, SAP HANA used as a secondary database and comprised data that was replicated from the primary database. In fact, data was being replicated from this to this. So using this approach, access time can be reduced. In most cases, the redirection is done via separate database connection and a small change in ABAP source code. So we'll see how we access this secondary database through ABAP programming. There are like three classes by which we create a connection. We use native SQL to retrieve data from this secondary database. So we'll see in our next post. Definitely, I'll show you how we use that. So now let's move to next slide. Wow, this is the architecture of in-memory database of SAP HANA. What a powerful database SAP has provided to this world. And you know one more thing, like you can use SQL script over SAP HANA database, and It can be used with only SAP HANA database, not with Oracle or Sybase or with SQL Server. So SQL script is a language which is used with SAP HANA database. So we will learn about SQL script as well. So before that, my objective is to make you understand a little bit about architecture of HANA database in memory. So you can see there are majorly two things you might have observing here, like index server. So there are multiple engines and multiple servers. So let's see one by one what is that. Actually, SQL processor, index server, what are these are the servers which is it used to fulfill your request, used to fulfill, used to execute your queries. So let's see one by one what is the use of these processor and engines. So HANA DB contains, as we have seen that HANA DB contains multiple servers. The most important server is index server. So you have seen that index server. This server is more important. So let's see why this is more important. Which is used to process SQL commands. Oh God. So index server is responsible for processing SQL commands. The index server itself contains multiple components. Yes, we have seen that index server has a SQL processor, and inside SQL processor we have a planning engine, MDX engine, calculation engine, stored procedure. So let's see. Index server itself contains multiple components. The SQL processor receives, okay, SQL processor receives and accepts SQL commands. Did you see that? SQL processor receives and accepts SQL commands and either runs them directly or forward it to subordinate component. These subordinate components can be either a central database storage like row or column, which I have seen in a picture, or one of engine, that is MDX, stored procedure, calculation engine, etc. In case of complex queries means like multi-dimensional expression, database procedure kind of queries. So in case of complex queries, it is processed by one of engine. For example, planning function. If you are doing which kind of planning functions queries, if you are doing multi-dimensional expression, as I said, or for a database procedure, that is stored procedure. So uh, like in case of complex query, it is processed by one of the engines. So now it's time to look at the servers. So we have seen in our picture there are different servers as well, like preprocessor server, statistic servers, name server, access engine. So let's see one by one what is that. So preprocessor server is used for a text search function integrated in SAP HANA and primarily analyze text data. And if required, this server is called by the index server. Very good. Name server maintains the information on topology. I'll discuss about topology little bit. Well, I'll discuss about SAP HANA database in more detail, or information regarding the distribution of software component and data. Access engine, HANA extended application service, where we use server-side JavaScript to access HANA DB. So it's a simple application server that can be accessed directly via HTTP or a web browser. Using the access engine and the server-side JavaScript, you can develop web application that access things such as data models. What is data models? Yes, we will learn about data models like views, attribute views, calculation views. So yeah, you can access things such as data models. We have multiple data models, as I said, attribute views, calculation views, analytical views, and text search in SAP HANA, and expose them as a RESTful service, representational state transfer. In this context, OData and HTML5 are used. So in my topic, I'll discuss detail about OData services, how we create OData services, and how we expose uh, our data using OData services. Now, statistic server. It is used to monitoring SAP HANA DB. Actually, this part is for basis team, but if because I have mm, created in a picture, so I'm just giving you some idea about statistic server because it is used to monitoring SAP HANA DB, and this is part of basis team. And this statistic server is responsible for providing data over HANA Studio. So when basis team access information about SAP HANA DB, so used for monitoring SAP HANA DB, it collects information on status, performance, and resource consumptions, and creates statistical view. SAP HANA Studio access this information via statistic server. So I think we have discussed about all the servers and all the engines. Uh, Now we are left with row store and column store, which is again very powerful mm, architecture of SAP HANA DB. So let's see what are these technique. So any relational database, any RDBMS, entries of a database table must be stored in a certain format. So there can be any format like if you are using any RDBMS, so data is saved in a table. So there is no like hard and fast rule that data will be saved by this. There is given a set of rules by the database that database will save data in this way only. So no matter that database is whether on RAM or whether on in a hard drive or using any physical system. So in every relational database, entries of a database table must be stored in a certain format, independent of whether this representation is done in main memory. That is in case of HANA. Independent in case of HANA, because in HANA we have a row store and we have a column store, and traditional database always store data in a row store format. So we will understand what is row store and what is column store. Or now let me read it. What was that? In every relational database, the entries of database table must be stored in a certain format, independent of whether this representation is done in a main memory or following the traditional approach using physical medium secondary device. As I said, no matter where the data is being saved in a table, whether in a RAM, whether in a hard drive, there is a set of rules how data will be stored. But in SAP HANA, we have two options available with us. First is row store and second is column store. HANA supports both approach. I'm just giving you hypothetical data, and which is used to like uh, which I created for you to show how actually SAP HANA stores data in memory. So for example, if you have a table in which you have a three columns: material number, material description, and price. So just look at the picture illusion I have created how row store representation of data in memory. So what it does, in memory row wise data gets created. So first box I have created in a red color, this is your first row, and another is purple color, this is your second row, another one is your red color in third row, and so on. So this is the way data is created in a memory. So I have also addressed row 1, this is row 2, and this is row 3, and this is row n. This is column 1. You can see column 1. First column is here, second column is here, third column is here. Same way column 2, this is here, this is here, and sorry, here. So this is the like way of representation of data in memory. You know what happens in a row store? Suppose if you are performing any aggregate functions. For example, I have to calculate average total price of all material. So what I'll do, I'll write a select statement, select average price. So once we will write select statement, what will happen inside database level? It will retrieve data. It will start reading from here, from the first cell. It will move to this, then this. Okay, here is a price. It will store somewhere. Again, it will move for another price. Okay, it is here. Again, it will move for third price. Okay, again, this is here. So it will move all the cells. So it's a sequential approach. Row store follows a sequential approach. So each and every cells will be visited for the price, for the finding out the price. So let's see in my next picture, reading mechanism in a row store. So as I said, it will access this way. You can see yellow. So row access works in this fashion. And again, you have seen that column access. If suppose we write select material number, then it will select this, then this, then this. But again, it will move to all these row cells one by one because it reads data in a sequential fashion. So row-based data storage in a SAP HANA. All data pertaining to a row placed in a next to each other, which facilitates access to entire row. In in this, accessing value of a column is little bit complex. Obviously, because one column is here, another column is here. You can see here, first column is here, second column is here, and third column is here. I have donated by this way, column axis, and this is our row, first row, second row, third row, and so on. So all the contents of a column are not placed next to each other. Definitely we can see that first is here, second is here, third is here. So not placed. So which has no favorable effect on data transport between main memory and CPU. We know that all the calculation done at CPU level because the processor is responsible for calculating, processing, calculation logic. So this is the big challenge, and because of that, it was taking a lot of time to uh, calculate data, especially for aggregation kind of data. So row store is not good for aggregation type of data, or when uh, this is good when you are using like select star statement, but in a practical we never select all the data from the database table. For example, we have a MARA table, we have a VVAK, VVAP sales order table and line item table. So we never write select star from VVAK table or VVAP table, because this is not the good practice, and there is no application or program which use all the records, all the columns of a database table. If it is, then definitely I will say row store is very good for that. Then column store is not good in that kind of situation. But in practical, we always use field column names in our select statement, which is our good practice as well. So we should follow the good practice. We know, should not retrieve all the columns from the database table. So this is thumb rule of SAP. Now, if I think you have understood that issue with row store and advantage and disadvantage of row store. Now go back and now see the column store. In column store, what happens? Again, the same table I have created here again, and this time all the columns are, you can see here, placed next to each other. And simply you can see, if I will write a aggregate function, so all the records are available at the adjacent of other columns. So in that situation, like in this kind of aggregate function, it will improve your data retrieval time. Now look at the what definition says of row column. Sorry, column is reading mechanism. So as I said, all the columns, you can see all these three columns. One column data is here, one column material description is here, and price is here. So column store, column store, nothing really new in column store. This type of data storage was already used in data warehouse application and analysis scenario in past. In this approach, contents of column are placed in next to each other in the main memory. This means all operations uh, accessing a column will find the required information nearby and good for transport of data between memory to CPU. No need to trouble every cell. If we have written select average price, then definitely all the price are uh, at the same place, at the same location, nearby the location, not the same location but the nearby the location. So this is good for transport of data between memory to CPU, which is unlike row based. So all aggregate functions are no need to trouble complete row of database data. So you have seen, like you have seen the difference of row axis and the column axis. Now let's move to next slide. Wow, the software components of uh, HANA. So as I said, I will definitely discuss about software components of SAP HANA. So software components of SAP HANA, like ADT tools, which is SAP HANA Studio, which is HANA Studio, and your database. So definitely I'll discuss about SAP HANA Studio and SAP HANA database. And this time just showing you the architecture of software components, all the clients which can access SAP HANA. So if you look at the picture, these are the clients, So clients are SAP HANA Studio, by which you can access HANA DB, your SAP Business Application Suites, your SAP NetWeaver BW, your business objects. So these are the applications, these are the clients which can, and other like browser and mobiles through which you can access your HANA DB. Inside the HANA host, you have a software update manager which is connected to the SAP marketplace. There are TRXRSS which is connected to SAP support through SAP router, SAP solution manager which is connected through SAP solution manager diagnosis agent, SAP HANA client interface. All the clients which I discussed earlier, all the clients are connected with the SAP HANA client interface. Okay, and this SAP HANA client interface is also connected to SAP LT, which is landscape transformation, SAP Business Suite, SAP Business Object Data Service for data replications. Inside the database, there is a R client, which is connected to R systems, and there are HANA scale out scenarios we'll discuss in our next session. So I'll discuss detail in more detail about everything, each and every components of this picture. Before closing this session, I would like to share one of the best architectural change improvement by SAP, which is here, code push down. So you might, if you remember my last screen where I have provided you detail um, about SAP architecture. So there is calculation logic which was initially at the application layer. For example, we have a presentation layer, we have an application layer, we have a database layer. So for comparison purpose, I have given you traditional architecture and the HANA architecture. So just to highlight the change improvements done in HANA architecture, I've created these two pictures. So this calculation logic was at application layer, in traditional architecture. But in HANA architecture, this calculation logic moved to database layer. You can see here. Calculation logic moved to database layer, that is code push down. Because of that, we can achieve code push down. So calculation logic is like used to perform calculation based on application data. Any query, what we are doing here, like right now, we are writing a select statement and retrieving data from database provide data to application server where we do all the process, and then finally we get the result, and which get gets displayed over like presentation server or a client. So all the calculation processing done at application layer. But in HANA DB, this is residing inside the HANA database. All the data are retrieved at the database level and gets calculated at the database level. Only the results are transferred. Only result are transferred to the application layer to presentation layer. This is the major improvement by SAP through which you can increase your performance of your application, your like data retrieval logic, which is being used in your existing SAP system. I think you should be able to understand what is SAP HANA, what are the release of SAP, what is architecture of HANA DB, what development done at DB level to achieve code push down technique in new SAP HANA ABAP architecture, what is mean for real-time data and how it is helpful. Apart from above, you come to know when and in which release ABAP as a programming language was introduced, what was the need of SAP BW, and how and why SAP HANA came into picture. In my next post, I'll cover more about ABAP development for HANA. So it can, it will contain topic like SAP HANA database, SAP HANA Studio, overview of Eclipse, which is ABAP development tool, which is HANA Studio and Eclipse, database programming with SQL script. As I said, HANA DB understand SQL script, so we'll discuss. I'll show you, once I'll show you how to access HANA server, then I'll show you after that how to write SQL script at the database level. ABAP database access, how you can access your ABAP database, ABAP programming with SAP HANA, where you will see the new SQL, open SQL commands, new improvements done with SQL commands, SQL language, how to create OData services, how you expose your data using OData services, how you create CDS views, core data service views, so how we, through which we achieve code push down, which I just discussed, AMDP's ABAP managed database procedure, and there will be many more for all of you. I hope this session will be interesting for you, and time to close this session right now. I hope it will be helpful for all of you and it was more interactive. So now I'll answer your questions. So you can ask one by one. I'll answer all the questions. But don't ask questions which is not discussed today. So ask only related to today's session. So if you will ask some advanced questions, you will not be able to understand because you don't know the technology right now. And if you know the technology, your friends, your colleague sitting beside you is not aware of this. So discussion over those topics which you are only aware is not helpful for all the members available in this room. So thank you friends, and have a nice day. If you have any query, any suggestions regarding this session, please feel free to drop me a mail. My mail ID is reflecting. I will answer your all questions. Thank you. Have a nice day.